Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to the 19th hole. We are live, and we are live going to Roma, Italia for the Ryder Cup 2023 Ryder Cup, United States versus Europe. They do this every 2 years. We haven't, as Americans, won on European soil since when I was a wee lad. And Conor was probably also a wee lad last time we won on a European soil. Let's cover the bases. Let's tip back some drinks. Let's go, baby. Buonasera, bienvenuto. That's Italian for good afternoon and welcome back to the 19th hole. In between media, we're back. We're doing a couple of tournaments in the wraparound season. Just kind of keep our beaks wet for golf. It is football season, so we understand that not everybody's as interested in these tournaments. But the Ryder Cup is kind of like the Olympics, but better because it's team golf. And there's match play and 4-ball and 2-ball. And we're going to have a lot of fun because you can bet on this stuff and you can play DFS on this stuff. And so team golf betting, team golf DFS. Conor, how are you doing, buddy?
I'm telling you, man, I'm getting more and more interested in golf. The more and more I got to watch the Minnesota Vikings. So
they are putrid.
We should just tank and trade off everybody. But no, it's good to be back. A couple weeks off. Thanks to Ian for filling in last time you guys teed it up. I was celebrating a band I've been following for years, so that was. We
weren't
fun.
Sure what a Coheed and Cambria is, so we were just making fun of you the whole time.
I won't bore you with the details, but a band from my youth, and Google them. It's a fun band. It reminds me of
they're still together after all these years.
Dude, what's wild is they just get better and better. So I'm just
shout out to Calgary, Alberta, Royal Slade in the house. Royal missed you at least. I didn't miss you, but Royal did.
Whatever, you miss me all the time.
Shut up.
But no, it's super good to be back doing a little bit of golf, and like you said, just keeping our finger on the pulse a little bit. The Ryder Cup is super fun, man. The only downside is that you got to get up at about 3 a.m. to watch it, but other than that, it's pretty exciting.
Is it 3 a.m. Central? Because if that's the case, I can just stay up late and watch it at 1 a.m. Pacific.
So I think it's 1 Eastern, 2 Central. That'd be the 4 your time then? 3, 4 your time? No, wait. God, I'm going the wrong direction. 11, 12 your time?
Okay, that's fine then.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I can just stay up late and watch it.
No, I got to set alarms and shit. It's not going to be great.
Well, I mean, it's an hour ahead of the British Open. So when the Open Championship's in England, it's another hour ahead for Italy. So it's 9 hours ahead instead of 8. I'm okay with that because what's the worst I do during the Open Championship is stay up till 1 to watch the early group tee off, and then they play the replay the next day. So even if I sleep or work through most of the rounds, I can always catch the replay. But I think I'll be staying up late to watch Ryder Cup because it's a lot of fun. It's like you get to see the personality with these players. And it's usually only the best players that get picked for the teams or qualify for the teams. So it'll be exciting to see the clash of the Titans in team golf for the first time in 2 years.
No, it's really cool. And the U.S. team has got a super cool chemistry too. Like almost every pair that you're probably going to end up seeing are like buddies. And so it's like high energy and there's some
rookie guys. Cantlay and Scheffler are going to be together because that's the power couple.
Oh yeah. And Spieth and Thomas. For sure.
Mm-hmm.
No, it's like Bo said. I mean, it's high energy. It's a lot of excitement, and I'm anxious to see some of these guys in action. I mean, not even just on our side, but the Euro team. I mean, love getting to see Aberg, who's just meteoric in his rise so far. I think it's going to be really cool to see what he does.
And he's going to annihilate probably Justin Thomas in 2-ball. It's as a captain's pick. Like you're going to see the red hot European versus the barely made it on pedigree Americans. I think it's kind of a lopsided bet for me, but for whatever reason, the betting odds have America as the favorites. So we're going to take advantage of that, are we not?
It's funny though, because I started out with you where I just thought the Euros were going to just absolutely roll us. And then the more I've looked at this course and the more that I've kind of like pieced together who might be playing together, the more and more I'm coming around to the US. So we'll see. We'll see. And hey, I mean, it'd be nice if we got this right too. I wasn't on the show with you boys last time, but I did have Sahith on the old card and in the column. Yeah. So we are one for one on the season. So that's good.
Yes. Our Canadian buddy is going for Europe as well, so that's not surprising. Having to share North America with us all these years. So are you drinking anything? I just got off work, so I didn't get a chance to pour anything yet. You have any beverages next to you?
Starting off the season with the old standby. I figured go to what works for me. Just a little Old Forester 100 proof. I just spilled 64 ounces of fruit punch flavored water all over my white carpet though as we came online. So you
mean your pink carpet?
We are just doing with you. We will be without the water.
Pink carpet. All right, so let's hit the intro for Club Twirls and let's bet on the Ryder Cup. So Ryder Cup season is upon us. And right off the top, USA -110. So even odds for the Americans to win the Ryder Cup, which they do have a slight edge being the defending champions. The Europeans have to outright beat them to take the cup from them. So it ends a draw. US retains the cup. And that's kind of the main bet is you're getting a little bit of a little extra kickback if you pick Europe and they end up taking the cup. I think that's more of where the odds are going because it does take more for Europe to take the cup back than it does for America to retain it. So I do get it. It's pretty much split down the middle here, but I'm still heavily favoring Europe to win this. And I'm actually going to be betting the winner's spread quite a bit here just to get some extra money out of it because I do think that Europe wins by at least 3 points, and so that's going to help my odds if they do pull that off.
Well, so like I was saying before, like I was a little more Euro before I started researching this course, and Marco Simone and Rome. I think there's kind of a misconception that this is going to be all about distance and bombing and all that. And this is a super narrow course. Well, I think a lot of people are coming out saying like, hey, distance is going to be an advantage. And I genuinely don't know if it is. You look at some of the,
I think it's the opposite because Europe as the host country or as the host continent gets to set the course up how they feel is an advantage. And so they've narrowed fairways and they've moved the gallery ropes back so that the bombers on the American side, if they miss the fairway, they're not going to get bailed out by trampled lies where the ball just sits on top of the grass. Europe's thinking this through. They did the same thing 4 years ago and just crushed the United States because the United States, by and large, less accurate off the tee. And the bomb and gouge thing isn't going to work here at all. I think that Europe is going to have a distinct advantage being able to find more fairways.
Yeah, see, I'm opposite of you. I think that the accuracy advantage actually lies with the U.S. There are some great accuracy players on the Euro team, but by and large, the Americans are definitely the more accurate team. And they're also the shorter hitters too. So it's a lot more controlled, and it's a lot more often short of some of these pinched landing areas as you do some of the course flyovers. Some of the bunker placement is right in that 280 to 300 range, and a lot of the landing areas. The other thing too is, to your point about moving the ropes back. Not only are they moving the ropes back, but they haven't trimmed the rough back as far as typical either. So you do have that kind of, for lack of a better description, that like native grass that is all over this place, and in most cases is less than 15 yards off of the rough. So I think that's very much in play. And then when you start looking at the greens too, you've got smaller than average for tour in terms of the green itself. You got a lot of false fronts, you got a lot of runoffs. And again, that native area creeps in really tight to a lot of these greens. And that's not to mention the 80 bunkers that are in play around this place. So I think it's kind of a little bit of a gimmicky course when you look at it. Like, there are some angles you can cut. There are some plays that can be made, which is kind of nice too. You have guys that are going to be able to go for it when the situation calls for it. But I think it's a risk versus reward course. And I think at the end of the day, the more accurate and a little bit more dialed back American team is probably going to edge out the Euros here. So that's where my money's at.
Strongly disagree. Are they the real question that everybody wants to know is whether the Europeans will concede any putts whatsoever to Scottie Scheffler. I think inside the leather, they're making him putt everything, because he's had a historic season ball striking wise, top 5 season ball striking all time, but was abysmal at making putts. So I think Europe might try just to get into his head, even if he's making all the 3-footers, to get the little gamesmanship is always present in this contest. This is all about forcing pressure where there might not otherwise be pressure on certain players, especially if the matches are kind of not really close. That's another bet that I'm looking at, is the biggest winning margin of a match is what is going to be the largest margin of victory for any match in this tournament. And I'm leaning towards like a 8 and 6. Like, I think that there's going to be some steamrollers here, and you can get some really good odds. 8 and 6 is plus 2,200. So I'm going to throw a few bucks at a couple of these long shot, like big margins of victory to hopefully hit and make a really good chunk of change, because I do think there's going to be some close matches, but there's also going to be some really quickly over matches.
Well, and for anybody watching that's not super familiar with the format of this too, like, so for Friday and Saturday, you've got a foursome match, and then you've got a 4-ball match. And the deal with the foursome match is, think of it basically as alternate shot. So, yeah. And then with the 4-ball, it's basically everybody plays their own ball, best score for the team, best ball. So I think what's interesting about the Euro strategy here is some of our bigger guns, i.e. Scottie Scheffler, we're going to be starting with the foursomes, which typically is not how they start. And I don't know who you put Scottie Scheffler with that can compensate for the fact that he can't putt. And so I think there's a real
opportunity. The alternate shot for the alternate shot's going to be tricky, because you might have him not putt for 3 straight holes, and then you might have him putting for 4 straight holes after that, just the way it lines up.
Yeah, and I don't know what the strategy is going to be. I mean, I don't know if you try and target not having him, or having him tee on the par 3s so that you have more likelihood that he's not the guy trying to putt for birdie. I don't know how they're going to work that, but that's a glaring issue with
put him with the best putter on the team and just even it out. That's what I would do.
Yeah, I mean, who do you put him with then? Like, who is it at this point? Ricky?
That's not a good putting team. That's that's the one thing that scares me the most about the USA team, is this European team can putt the daylights out. And in Ryder Cup, especially match play Ryder Cup format, we always talk about like Patrick Reed, clutch, making putts, Payne Stewart making putts, Ian Poulter of all people making putts in the clutch. and that's a huge advantage for the Europeans is on the greens.
Well, I mean, what's wild about it is Wyndham Clark is actually over the last 50, by far and away the best putter.
Yeah, and that makes sense because he's top 5 in the world. So that's that makes sense.
And then you
So
got Brian Harmon. I mean, maybe that's a strategy, but
I put
it's
Scottie
weird.
with Wyndham. That would be a good pair.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I love Wyndham for a lot of reasons here, and a lot of the betting odds that you can get on him right now, as far as like low rookie. I'm looking,
Yeah.
trying to scroll to my number right now, but I really like him as the low rookie here. Just while we're on the subject, and he's at plus 260 right now. So, I think Max Homa is going to get a lot of love in that regard, but I think I like Wyndham Clark. Plus 260 there. So
what about top USA point scorer? Because I have Wyndham Clark at plus 1600 if he ends up scoring the most points for the team.
And I've got him as one of my 2 favorites too. I like him and I like Xander.
Yes.
Xander at plus 600, I think is a pretty good shoe in. That, the trick is trying to figure out which ones of these guys are going to play 4 or 5 sessions. And frankly, I think Xander and Cantlay are up there as possible.
Mm-hmm.
They're just the most consistent players on the team. And
they're usually paired together.
Yep. And so I think you'll probably get your Friday, Saturday out of those 2, probably get 4 sessions, and then everybody plays that 5th session. So I think you got a better shot at getting like the Xander Cantlay mix to play, maybe the JT and Spieth mixture, just because I think they're fan favorites. They're kind of the heart and soul of the team, regardless of their play. So I think that's something to take into consideration. But I think Wyndham Clark, I think is going to be sneaky. I think he's going to probably get, I'm guessing, 4 of the sessions in, is my thought.
I would think so, especially if he starts off strong, because they don't have to reveal who's playing until the morning of, and there'll be some gamesmanship because the captains, Zach Johnson and who's the European captain?
Luke Donald.
So those 2 are going to get together each night after the play and formulate which golfers are going to face which golfers. And it's a lot of strategic value there too, because it'll be based on how they played the day before or that day, with how they align it. Like if one of the teams comes out and gets a big lead, that's going to change the strategy for both of them. And top captains pick score, like you're looking at pretty decent numbers here for Ricky Fowler. That's kind of what I'm looking for. Let's see here.
I actually like going JT there at plus 500, and not because of the form or anything like that. Just solely based that I think there's a narrative there, and I think that he's gonna probably play multiple sessions. I think him and Spieth are a shoe-in to play probably 3, if not 4, of the Friday, Saturday sessions.
Yeah, plus 850 for him and Ludwig Aberg for the same bet. That's a tough one because I think Aberg is going to show up right off the bat because this dude's on fire.
Yeah, I have on the Euro side. I definitely have Aberg. I've got him for the rookie bet at plus 175. And then as far as the wild card or captain's pick bet, low score, I've got him at plus 300. I like both of those on Aberg on the Euro side.
Yeah, and that's just Euro only. Like I'm looking at the combined too, and it's double the odds are doubled, obviously, because it's among both teams. So I like both of those bets.
Yeah, I'm a little less on the Aberg overall, just because I do think you're right. I think he's on fire. I do think if he gets the opportunity, like he can absolutely crush this. I'm just not 100% sold that he gets in that 4 session. I think he's probably more like 3. And so that just limits his overall ability to score. But that's also why I like him in that captain's pick on the Euro side bet, because I mean, really the only competition that you've got when you look at that particular
Straka.
Yeah, Straka. I'm sneaky as Hollegard though, and he's won at this course before. He's in pretty decent form, and the number is really good on him. Like if you're looking, I mean, I wouldn't do him again. I wouldn't do him top overall European. I would lean more towards that captain's pick. But that is coming at plus 750. And I think that he's another one just like Aberg. Like, I think he's probably more like a 3-session guy, depending on how he plays the first day. And I do think he gets in there the first day. Based on some of the practice groupings that I've seen over the last 24 hours, it looks like maybe if I had to make a guess that Justin Rose and Straka might not be teeing it up, at least not in the first group on Friday.
Right. So do you have any other bets that you're going to be placing for Ryder Cup in general? Are you going to do any specific days, specific format? I'm looking at, there's a fun one that I found at the bottom of the DraftKings Sportsbook Ryder Cup page. You got two
fun ones.
Fire away.
Hole in one plus 400 for yes. Looking at hole.
You think somebody's going to ace one?
I think looking at hole 13, it's short. It's short, and these guys are out for blood and throwing darts. Like, I think somebody's going to put it very close, and I like it. Plus 400 is a good number on that.
Well, if one person hits it close, the rest of the team and their opponents are going to be pin seeking to keep pace, because match play is all about answering and rebuttal shots. Like, or if somebody's in the weeds, you hit an iron off the tee to be in play, so you have an advantage on the next shot. There's a lot of strategic play on each shot, not just on each hole, which I really love about the format. Match play in general is more like that, where it's more of a shot by shot round rather than just one hole at a time. Every shot matters in match play.
And the collective intellect that's going into this too, right? Like, little different than a normal tournament. You got multiple caddies, you got multiple coaches, and you got two guys that know they're going to play together. So it's in their best interest to have these shots dialed. You know, and I was watching
in a plan of attack.
Yeah.
Like, if somebody hits it here, we're going to do this.
Yep. And like, as you were watching some of the practice rounds today, I mean, and this is not atypical. This is most tournaments, but they know exactly where all these pins are potentially going to be. They had the discs out marking all the possible pin placements. So I suspect that some of these shorter par threes, we're going to see some fireworks. So I'm pretty pumped about that. I actually think it's going to happen.
That's a decent bet, yeah, because it's like almost like it's not worth to bet that there's no hole in one, because it's like minus 1,600 or whatever.
Yeah, so it's crazy.
Yeah, you're a sucker if you bet no hole in one, because obviously it doesn't happen very often. But if it does happen, you get paid out 4-1 just because somebody somewhere made an ace this week. That's a pretty cool bet to root for, because everybody wants to see a hole in one.
100%. No,
if you see one, you get paid for it.
Yeah, I was pretty pumped. I mean, I've bet stupider things.
Oh, me too, easily. What was your other one?
My other one is opening UST shot. I am going Justin Thomas at plus 800. I am almost positive that they're gonna
lead him off.
I think it's gonna be Spieth and Thomas going first, and I think Zach Johnson's gonna let Justin Thomas tee first. He's the most controversial. Again, he's part of the heart and soul and the fire of this squad. I think they're going to let him start it off.
Well, the only thing that I worry about with that is that Zach Johnson is the most vanilla person ever and the least controversial player of all time. Like, he's the most boring person I've ever seen, and he doesn't want to make waves. So I don't see him maybe wanting the drama, especially on day one. But I mean, it would be fun to watch because everybody's going to be talking about it. If it does happen and you get 8-1 on JT teeing off first for Team USA, there's going to be a buzz, because that's making waves right off the bat. I don't know if Zach has that kind of spice in his belly, but
well, the interesting thing too is again, press conferences today, like there is just this crazy team camaraderie right now, and even if it isn't Zach Johnson that wants to pull the trigger on this. He even came out and said today that the consensus picks and the additional players that were added with the captain's picks and so on and so forth were a joint effort from the players that made the team outright. And so I think that he gives these players a fair amount of say. So I think that we got a strong shot at this happening. I think it's going to be pretty cool when it does too.
So my bet, this is fun, but player X to win 0 points. who's going to be the skunk that goes out there, plays 3 rounds of match play, and does not contribute a single point, not even a half, because halves are pretty common. My 0 goes to Max Homa.
I think
Max Homa. If Max Homa gets 0 points, it's plus 1,600.
I like that one. I like the odds on the Scheffler one, and I can't take credit for that. I was listening to some
That's
other
a
people.
huge odds on that one. 65-1 payout if Scheffler does not contribute a single point to Team USA.
Again, that's one of those things. Throw a couple bucks at, right? Like, just
Yeah,
you can make a strong, quick argument that Scheffler could put up a nothing burger. I mean,
yeah, a very slim chance that Cantlay puts up a nothing burger. The dude is nails in match play. One of the best match play players of all time, in fact.
I kind of like on the same note who you asked who the 0 in my mind would be. I kind of like it to be Shane Lowry in awful form.
He's played terribly this year.
Awful form. I don't know who they're going to put him with. It's certainly not going to be anybody top tier because that's
might be McIntyre just to get the Scottish and the Irish out there together and
let him clock in for a couple swings and get him out of there.
Drink 8 beers on the front 9 and then lose 8-6 and help me cash on that margin of victory.
So, question: we did the U.S. first tee, Euro, Rory McIlroy, right? Plus 350, or do you think maybe
it's safe? I would say either him or Rahm.
I like a plus 350 on Rory actually seems a little like long. I mean, I think it's almost assuredly him.
Yeah. You think any one person wins 5 points in this contest?
I don't know, because I'm having the hardest time trying to get a beat on what the groupings are going to be and what the head-to-heads are going to be. I mean, I do think a lot can be said for how equal these teams are in different ways. So I don't know. I'm leaning towards no. What do you think?
I think if it is, it's going to be one of these like stalwarts of match play. Like I can see Cantlay winning 5 points. I can see Xander winning 5 points. But other than that, maybe not. Just because even the top guys don't necessarily have a reputation for being amazing Ryder Cup players. So I maybe one of these guys like Cantlay 28-1. It looks like Xander's down here farther. 28-1 also. So those two at 28-1, those would be the only two I bet on that 5 point plus bet. But the rest of them, I'm not even throwing darts, because 5 points, you have to win 5 of your 6 matches. It means you have to be on the course for all 6 rounds.
Do you think we didn't even talk about him? And we probably need to at least mention him. What's your feeling on Viktor Hovland? Not a great match play guy. But in probably the best form of anybody in the last, probably, I call it 90 days, 120 days.
I'm having a hard time getting a beat on what he's going to look like, because he's been out partying because he won 2 straight tournaments to end the season, and he's got $18 bazillion in his bank account now.
God,
so
I wish
who knows?
I wish I had that problem.
Sounds like a terrible problem to be at, especially at 25 years old, single with $20 million made in a couple weeks. I think he's doing just fine.
I mean, I will say this, as far as top Euro goes, I don't know about top scorer in general, but top Euro plus 500 on Hovland actually seems pretty appropriate.
That's nice.
I think the risk is reflective there, but I do think if I had to pick a guy outside of Rahm or Rory that I thought would get 4 or 5 sessions, I think it's safely Hovland out of that group. So
that's why I think that, like, your top 6 Europeans are so much better than the top 6 Americans. It's just that after the top 6 Europeans, it drops off sharply, and so. If the Europeans can hold serve with their advantage at the top of the board with their full-time guys, quote unquote, I think that they can withstand how deep the American team is. The only reason I could see the Americans winning is if the bottom tier of the Americans comes to play, because they're like, on paper this is a mismatch, but you can never say JT is going to be ice cold. I mean, you can't guarantee that, because if JT comes out playing like old JT, the Americans are going to win because he was the last man in. All the grief because Keegan Bradley played better than him this year and didn't make the team. That'll shut a lot of people up about JT, as if he comes out with his hair on fire and plays his ass off.
I kind of like it. I think it might happen.
It very well could. I won't doubt him. I just think that the Europeans are a stronger team overall, especially at the top. The top is just loaded.
Yeah, I mean, again, I think in a nutshell, I think that this is a lot more evenly matched than maybe you do. And so I think a lot's going to shake out depending on the matchups. I mean, and I was talking earlier this week with you and Seth about this. Like, I think that this is a lot more of an opportunity to get out there, make some live bets and some live head-to-heads.
For sure. Live bets are going to be very popular.
I mean, you're going to have to get up early, but I think you're going to be able to like read the tea leaves a little bit more on that and just go, okay, Rahm and so against
what kind of form we're in here. Like, after day one, you'll get a good sense of everybody's form, because most of them do play at least once the first day, and then you could see, okay, what did they look like, and then you can see the next day's pairings and go from there. Live bets are going to be important. I have a feeling it's going to be a lot invested in my betting slips for a lot of potential payouts, but my money is going to be tied up all weekend in these apps. It's going to be suspenseful. It's going to be exciting. It's going to be fun to watch. Are you doing any DFS? Are you hitting the DFS streets? Because I'm excited to talk about some of these prices, because I have a feeling I'm going to win more at DFS this time around than betting.
I absolutely love the cup format for DFS. Like you and I have done very well with this historically. So,
All right, let's hit the trunk slams. Don't be trunk and slamming. No slamming trunks, even if Goldberg throws you in the lake.
The club as well. This would be a wrestling slam.
Well, DFS, DraftKings, Cup format. Take it away, Connor, because I can't wait to hear you describe this.
That's really nice of you. So first and foremost,
you missed the last show, so you let me have Ian on here, doing a great job. By the way, we
did do a great job. Ian. We didn't pay him enough love. Like, shout out to him. Great guy, smart, sharp guy. So
he's a lot sharper than you most of the time. And and since you're sharper than me, that makes me. Why am I here?
We're gonna get Ian.
Big bird in the boardroom over here.
It's gonna be me, you, and Ian, and we're gonna have a 2-hour special, because it ain't no way all three of us are gonna agree on stuff.
But I'll put the special in special.
Okay, let me see if I can break this down pretty concisely for anybody playing DFS this week. So, essentially, it's very similar to a showdown captain mode format in terms of how you want to lay out your roster. Your captain's going to get 1.5 times the points. The trick there is finding somebody at a reasonable price that you think is going to play the most sessions, or at least enough sessions to offset like the value that you're going to pay for them. So that part is a little bit tricky. The way the scoring works is you get 3 points for winning a hole, you get 0.75 points for a tie, you lose 0.75 for a loss. Any holes not played, you get 1.6. If you win your match, you get 5. And if you tie your match, you get 2. They do have a couple of streak bonuses. You do get a 5-point streak bonus if your guy wins 3 consecutive holes. And then you get a 7.5-point bonus if there are no holes lost in a match, which in this format is most likely not going to happen, but that bonus is there. One thing that's a little bit different than, like, say, the Dell match play that we've covered before is it doesn't hurt you to find a couple of guys that are possibly going to play together. So like if you think that Spieth and JT are going to run a train on the Euros, you're going to want to get the cheaper one in your captain spot, and then you're going to want to get the other one at less amount, because if you think they're going to play most sessions together, that's an easy way to get better value for your dollar. And if you can just wait it out until Thursday at 1 a.m. Central Time, when they announce all the pairings and announce who's going off with who, that would be a good time to set your lineup. So what I've done is I've already pre-booked all of my lineups. So I've reserved my spot in all of them, and then I will draft them shortly after everything gets announced. So I know who's got the best shot at playing the most matches. I think that's the best way to explain this.
Yeah, I agree. I missed most of what you were saying. Building lineups while you were talking. I won't make you repeat all of it though. I do want to give a shout out to Dee Dee at the Lake House down in SoCal. Thanks for joining us, Dee Dee. Wendy Early must be late again. She's mad at me because I was on the Sirius XM, the football diehard show with Bob Harris, her bestie, and I forgot to shout her out. And I think that's why Wendy's not watching. She's just mad at me.
That is them's fighting words right there.
Hey, I even told her, I was like, right before I went on, I was like, oh yeah, I'm definitely gonna shout you out because you're Bob's bestie, and she totally spaced it. Oh, see, Royal thinks I did pretty good. Yeah. Or I made the show, or I ruined the show. Either way.
He means you spoke well. I mean, one thing's for sure, you speak well.
Yeah.
So do you want to try and
inebriated? Yeah, let's build a lineup. I want you to build me a lineup.
Well, I'll start with who at the top do you think has the best shot at playing the most sessions? Because I tend to think that it is on the Euro side. I think that you're probably a little more safe saying Rahm and or McIlroy are going to play probably all sessions.
Yes, for sure. And I would say on the American side, Cantlay and Xander, because of their Ryder Cup history, their match play history. That's kind of where I think I want to go with the captain, because they're cheaper and they have a better reputation.
And I think if you follow, there's two ways to look at who you want to put in that pair up top, right? Mm-hmm. Is one, you can just go solely to save money, which is Xander. Yep. Two, you got to remember that somebody's going to have to play they're going to have to play head-to-heads on their own steam on Sunday. So that's kind of where my brain goes. If I got two guys I've identified as wanting to be captain, I'm kind of looking at who I think is going to win their head-to-head, which I think still is Xander.
Yep. That was where I started. I put Xander right in my captain spot, because I had a feeling that even if they didn't do the predictable, which was pair him with Cantlay to bring back the old pairing from the last two Ryder Cups that did so well, but I don't expect them to split that pair up. Like, Zach Johnson's not going to do that. He's not dumb. Maybe he is, but he's not that dumb. For me, it's Xander all the way at the captain spot, because I think even on his own merit, he's a wonderful match play player. He's an extremely accurate ball striker, which is going to pay dividends on this course. So that's the person I kind of locked into that spot, and then I'm going to fill in the rest with a bunch of other guys I like, because I can save enough money by playing Xander in the captain spot that the other 5 positions I can pretty much go and fill in all the guys I like.
Yeah, for the most part. I think where it gets tricky though is, again, even as you get down the board, trying to identify who is gonna play the most rounds, or at least in your estimation, who is. And I think somebody safe that's down the board a bit, just to kind of go back and forth, go low money, high money. I kind of like Jordan Spieth at 7,400. I think we have a pretty good shot to see him. I
was going to bet Spieth to win 0 points.
Seriously, all right. Well, sell me off of him. I mean,
I just think that with the way they're setting up the course is to protect them from Jordan Spieth, because he's a scrambler, but he's also extremely wayward as a ball striker, and he epitomizes bomb and gouge. because even though he's not the longest hitter, that's his style of play. He just sprays it down there and finds a way to score. He's such a remarkable short game player that he just gets away with murder off the tee. And I think the Europeans are smart enough to say, hey, we don't want guys like Jordan Spieth and Colin Morikawa to short game their way around this course and beat us that way. We want to force them to hit more challenging approach shots, because if we're talking about like putting the short irons in their hands that a lot of these approach shots are going to have, that's where the USA has a huge advantage in this thing, is on approach, especially with the distances that we expect. And so I think the Europeans are going to set this course up, or they have set this course up to prevent those guys from beating them. So I think they're just going to take their lumps with whatever Scottie ends up doing, Patrick Cantlay, Xander. Those guys are going to do what they're going to do, but it's those mid and lower tier USA players that have an advantage over the European middle and bottom tier guys that they want to neutralize that. And so I'm going to fade Jordan Spieth for that reason. It might bite me, but it's also like JT is another guy that I think could show up because he fits the course well. He's like Xander before Xander started playing out of his mind again. Like, this is, if JT gets back into his prime form on a course that fits his game like this one does, then again, you're going to see good value. Like, nobody's going to play JT at 6,800. He's played like crap. Like, that's, for me, that's leverage.
Second man in.
Yeah.
All right.
I mean, maybe third or fourth. He's dirt cheap.
Well, now we got 7,700 per player left. So do you want to go high or you want to go low?
Well, I'm looking at the lineup I'm building on the side here. Sorry, I'm just getting distracted. But I have 3 lower level players that I want to play. I want to play Aberg, Clark, and Fitz. But then I'm going to do JT, and then I can spend whatever I want on the last player. That's kind of what I'm doing. Is I was like, I know there's probably not a bad play at the top here. So I'm going to build around my value plays. Is that wrong?
I think there is a bad play near the top. I don't know that I believe that Brooks Koepka is going to play that much.
That's true.
And I also don't know that I 100% think that Morikawa is even going to play that much. And not because he shouldn't, just because I don't necessarily know where he fits in the skill set with being complementary. Right.
For sure.
He's a short hitter. He's more of a long iron specialist. His putting sucks. Just to call it what it is. So I do think getting up there at the top, I'm probably going to eat my words, but I'm going to stay away from Koepka and I'm going to stay away from Morikawa. I just don't. I don't love.
I'm on board with that. I'm on board with that. Those are two Americans that scare the daylights out of me.
I definitely think that I want Hovland in lineups. I think if we get the Hovland that we've had for the last 3-4 months, I think he's going to absolutely tear this place up. And I definitely think that he could be the best scorer on the Euro team.
Rosie agrees with you.
So, hey, most of the time when Rosie agrees, you got to lock it in. So yeah, up there near the top, I think that's another guy that I want to make sure I have in my lineups is Hovland. When you look at some of the statistics for, like, it pains me to say it, but when you look at some of the stats for like Rory and match play, like, I just don't know if you're going to get your money back on him at his price point. It's not bad history. It's just not great. I mean, it's very like kind of 500 average across the board. And to be honest, Rahm actually doesn't have a very favorable match play history either. He's good in the foursomes, but outside of that, he's also a 500 guy, and that's a lot of money to pay for somebody who's going to 500 you.
Yeah. And I don't have any players that are that high except for Rory. Like, I want to play Rory. I really do. I think that he's going to be the catalyst for that entire European team. So I think as I go down my lineup here, I'm European centric, but my value plays or my main value play is JT down at 6,800.
So my main value play is actually Justin Rose. He has by far and away
I
the
have him
best
too. 6K. 6K for Justin Rose. That's so nice.
and by far and away the best Ryder Cup and match play record out of anybody in this field. So, and Justin Rose actually, like, just to continue to kind of bang the drum a little bit, over the last like 90 days, he actually was starting to round into form. The approach was coming online. He was making some good putts. Don't necessarily have the finishes or the flash of vintage Justin Rose, but this is another guy, like, he would be in the realm of like the Ian Poulters of the world, right? Where like they just show up for this match play and Ryder Cup scenarios. And
Yep.
I think that's dangerous. I think it's a lot like JT. That's why I'm holding out hope that like JT just shows up for this stuff.
Oh, yeah. He's
you
a
know,
competitor.
I wish Patrick Reed was here, to be honest. Like Patrick Reed,
He would
love
be
him.
amazing.
Love him or hate him.
Oh, and the Europeans hate him.
Yeah.
Hate him.
So
Well, I mean, most of the Americans hate him too, but he gets people fired up.
love Justin Rose at 6K. And I think he's going to be an oddball. I don't think you get the most sessions out of him, but I think you're going to get 3, maybe 4 sessions, depending on how he's striking it. But in those 3, I would expect him to win.
I just shared my lineup I just built with you on the 19th hole gang chat. Check that out. But I think we're pretty much in alignment with most of these picks. It's going to come down to, if you feel like the Americans are going to win, maybe gravitate towards those players that we've talked about. I'm on the side that the Europeans are still going to dominate. So my lineups in DFS are going to be centered around. Oh yeah, he's okay. You got JT and Hovland and Rose and Rory and Wyndham. Okay, so actually we have all those players matching except for one.
Because you have Aberg in yours, don't you?
Yes, I do. And that's the thing, is that I favor the European team, so I'm going to build my lineups with a bias towards that side because I feel like they're going to win.
And I stand behind what I said. Like, we're just playing around, because the God's honest truth is these guys are the best players in the world. Like, so you can speculate till you're blue in the face, but until we get the announcement on who's playing who and how the sessions are going to shake out, like, I wouldn't get too married to anybody. Like, I'd hang out, wait to see how the chips are going to fall, and then set your lineups, Thursday. That would be my best advice on this is, if you're worried about not being able to getting into a tournament because it might fill or whatever, then just reserve your spot. All
right. So before we wrap it up here, I need your official prediction and margin of victory.
I'm going to let you go first because I'm checking something. Go ahead.
I say Europe by 4.
Can I just match you and go US by 4?
Yeah. That's gonna be fun to watch.
I just want to be like, I told you, Bo. I told you.
And watch now it's gonna be a tie, and the US is gonna retain the cup because that's right in the middle.
We didn't even mention that. Lift the trophy, it would be an American tie. So if you bet America to lift the cup, just realize that you're betting on a tie.
Or better,
yeah. In case you see that. And then, so who is going to be your top scorer for this? I know we went over a bunch of guys, but who do you think scores the most points?
I think it's going to be Rory. He's going to play in all the matches, and I think that what the captains are going to do is kind of concede certain matches. So I think they're going to want this to come down to the middle and bottom tier players. So I think they're going to match. They're not going to necessarily match up, especially in the 2-ball match play singles events. I don't think they're going to match heavyweight against heavyweight. And so I do think Rory's going to go in there and probably not have a top tier opponent on the weekend. So they can line up everybody else the same way. We might still see some upsets. Those are very common in Ryder Cup play, where you see a guy like John Rahm play a guy like JT on Sunday, because it's just how it shook out. And a lower tier guy comes out and just lights the course up, and that's what happens is you get these memories, these crazy moments where nobody saw it coming.
So I think JT on the back of blood, sweat, and tears.
Woo, spicy.
I think all the practice, I think the switch to the new putting coach, or not putting coach, new swing coach. I think all of that stuff, I think, comes to fruition. And I think JT's got the fire in his belly to come out and prove the world wrong. And I think it's just an awesome story. And I think you're going to see some real fireworks from JT this week. So I'm going to go with JT.
Top point scorer, JT, plus 2,200. Yeah, that's nice.
It's not the wildest narrative that we've ever gone over. It's
not even close.
It's wishful thinking, but no, I actually genuinely believe the U.S. is going to win, and I think it's going to be on the back of JT, and I think it's going to be one of those really cool, like, feel good comeback stories of the year. So it's my touchy feely narrative for the week.
Cinderella story. All right, well, this has been the 19th hole. Tune into Ryder Cup play starting just in a couple of days. Get excited. Stay up late if you're on the West Coast. Set an early alarm if you're
USA.
Yeah, Europe's like 15 countries, so I'm not gonna try to do that.
We're deporting you.
I wouldn't mind. I can speak 3 languages. I'll be fine.
Good to see you, man. Good to be back a little bit. We'll see everybody in a couple weeks.
Yep. All right, let's hit the outro. Thanks for joining us. Make sure you like and subscribe and jingle the bell for notifications for next time we go live on the 19th hole.